I folded the piece of paper neatly and placed it on my lap, staring out at the cloud-dusted sky out of the car's window. Soon, I'll be walking along the streets of Japan to become the hero I always dreamed to be. Originally, being born in America and living there felt like there wasn't anything going for me. My parents died to unknown causes, and from what I remember, the police looked into the cause for about 4 months and never found anything to report. They never found what killed them. So I lived in an orphanage for most of my life, until a hero in disguise witnessed me using my quirk without a license during an attack at the orphanage. I managed to get everyone out safely, but my body was severely injured due to the radiation burns. The undercover hero called herself Midnight. The woman was on a secret mission for her agency in Japan. When she saw my quote-unquote selfless deed, as she put it, she said that she saw great potential in me. The lady offered me an opportunity to go to UA. Of course, having no better choice, and having nothing interesting going on in my life, I accepted the offer. I was told that I missed something called the entrance exam, which made me feel like a nervous train wreck. But she informed me that I didn't need to worry about that. She would handle everything. And all I need to do is to arrive and head straight to UA's school building. Deku's POV. Uraka-san, Ida-san, and I were having our usual conversation while Todoroki-kun, silent as always, would nod his head now and then, agreeing to whatever we were talking about. From what I can tell, Todoroki-kun has been getting better with talking to others, but he could still use some more practice. Suddenly, the classroom door flung open, and in walked our sleep-drunken teacher, Aizawa-sensei. He was grumbling as usual, but there was a slight evil smile appearing on his face as he looked at a slip of paper in his hand. Then he slammed it onto his desk, creating a loud thud, causing all of the students, including myself, to quickly return to our seats. Pull all of your attention off of your classmates and listen up. I have an announcement to make, he stated in his casual, flat, and tired tone. Hearing that made everyone's heads pop up one by one. My heart kept on beating, my mind racing miles among miles per minute as I thought through all the possibilities of what this announcement could be about. Starting tomorrow, there will be a new transfer student attending our class. Suddenly, the all-too-familiar Mineta jumped up on his desk and slammed his hands onto his desk, earning a scowl and a rather annoyed sigh from Aizawa. I already know what you're going to ask, so please sit back down, Aizawa scowled, glaring at him. To answer your question, yes, the student is a girl. Yes! Mineta shouted as I and everyone else groaned. I'm a bit worried for the girl who's going to be joining our class, and any female who crosses Mineta's path for that matter. I thought to myself while Aizawa-sensei continued about the new transfer student. Please be rational about this, for she is transferring from America, so go easy on her. She was recommended by Midnight herself, and all I have to say to that is... His sentence trailed off as he glanced down at the paper to read it. He looks back up with the same evil-looking smile on his face that he made when he walked in, which made me shudder in my seat. Her quirk is... unique. It's a bit of a combination between Bakugo's and Midoriya's, I suppose. For reference, anyway. He pointed out, glancing over at Kachan and I. Now, I want you all to be on your best behaviors. Or not, see if I care. But before our session starts, I would like to inform anyone that Miss Midnight will be in the classroom tomorrow to introduce the new student. I'd advise you to be respectful. I've heard her say that she is protective over this one. And with that, he rubbed his dry eyes and continued to go through today's class session. Meanwhile, everyone, including me, was thrown off guard due to the sudden news. A new student, huh? And Aizawa-sensei said her quirk is similar to mine and Kachan's. A sort of combination. I'll have to take some notes on her tomorrow, I muttered to myself. Third-person point of view. It's been about 3 hours since Hoshi walked out of the airport. And when she first stepped out of the vehicle, her eyes could not believe what she was seeing at the beautiful sight of Japan. So pretty. This place is amazing. She squealed as she clutched her backpack strap with one hand while gripping her suitcase handle with the other. Hoshi began to walk through the busy streets and roads, asking for directions until she heard the sound of falling debris. She looked up to see a large piece of concrete falling, as it was about to hit her, among other civilians. Reacting quickly, she brought out her hands and released out a mild blast of her quirk. The concrete was now nothing but falling dust and cinders. All of a sudden, Hoshi felt a great pain aching from her arms, assuming that it was just the radiation, and drawback from her quirk. She hissed in agony as she heard the sound of cheering and clapping surrounding her. In this situation, any normal person would suck up their pain and smile. Feeling cheering from the crowd would fill them with pride. But Hoshi didn't care. She didn't even want the attention, if she was being honest with herself. She just wanted to grab her belongings and run away. But luckily, a kind green-haired woman helped her up. As the woman guided Hoshi out of the crowd, she introduced herself as Inko Midoriya. As the two began small talk, Hoshi and Inko asked Inko if she knew the way to the school building. She did. A couple of minutes passed and the two finally arrived at the entrance of the building. How and why is this school so huge? What is this place? Is it a high school or a damn castle? Hoshi exclaimed in both shock and disbelief. Inko simply giggled as she handed her her suitcase, reassuring Hoshi that this was in fact the UA High School. Hoshi then held the handle with her now numb and scabbed hand. She turned and bowed to the green-haired lady as a thank you, earning a small bow back. Inko smiled and walked away from the building before Hoshi ran to the front door and entered the school, only to be swept off her feet and be shook like a damn maraca by the woman she was all too familiar with. Hello, Miss Midnight! Hoshi greeted her with a chuckle as the R-rated hero looked at her with a now worried look on her face. That of what a mother would give. Are you all right? Show me your hands, she demanded. Before Hoshi could answer or even react, she yanked up her sleeves to see the purplish scars of burnt skin and the thin smoke that lifted from her forearms. Without saying another word, Midnight picked up Hoshi bridal style and rushed through past the dozens of UA students making their way to the cafeteria. Like a small child on their first day of school, Hoshi hid her face in the R-rated hero's chest, not wanting to be seen by the other students. Deku's POV. I was walking to the cafeteria with Uraraka, Ida, and Todoroki, and Sue, until I got shoved down forcefully by what looked like the hero and UA teacher, Miss Midnight. From a glimpse, she was holding someone in her arms as she sped down the hall. Deku-kun, are you okay? You're not hurt, are you? Uraraka asked, helping me up from the ground. Todoroki and Ida looked over their shoulder to watch Midnight making her way down the hallway in a rush. As a teacher, she should have at least said excuse me and apologized, Ida said, doing one of his robotic arm poses. As I got up to my feet, I looked in the direction of where Midnight was heading, and as I adjusted my eyes, I barely see her swinging the door open to Recovery Girl's nurse's office room and slamming it shut. Did someone get hurt? Todoroki thought out loud before I could even ask myself. I hummed in response as scenarios danced around my head until I felt something tap my shoulder, causing me to jump and yelp in surprise. Sorry, Izuku. I didn't mean to startle you. You seemed like you were in a bit of a daze. Asui said as she looked at the Recovery Girl's door and back at him. If it makes you feel better, why not go to see who's hurt? Some company shouldn't hurt whoever rushed in there. She suggested with a soft smile. Yeah, nobody should be alone if they're injured, Uraraka agreed. But what if we're not allowed? I stutter out worriedly. As far as I am concerned, visiting someone is not violating the rules. And we should question why the teacher was so rude as to shove you down without much explanation, Ida said, adjusting his glasses as Todoroki nodded in agreement. Seeing as everyone was so hell-bent on the idea, we all began to make our way to Recovery Girl's office. When the door was just a few feet away, I heard a yelp, followed by a hiss. I yelp and hiss as the woman called Recovery Girl kissed my right arm, and the singed skin begins to fall off, almost dancing as it laid on the ground, new skin taking its place. I'm sorry, dear, but they only heal one at a time. Otherwise, your body will collapse in exhaustion, she explained as a sudden feeling of low energy flooded my senses. Causing me to lean my head against the pillow. You need to be more careful. What if you had lost control and your whole body was severely injured? Midnight lectured as a soft smile tugged at my lips. That was until she was cut off by the sound of the door opening and 5 students walking in. Both mine and Midnight's eyes trained on them as if they were predators of some kind. There was a small moment of silence before I yelped, banging my left, still burnt arm on the metal bar next to my bed. I hold my arm with my bandaged one as I curl into a ball, trying to hide my pained expression. Third-person point of view. Hoshi laid in the bed after yelping, banging her injured hand on the pole, causing Deku and everyone else to jolt as she whimpers in her ball. His eyes fall on her injured arm. It looked like it was burned. Did Dabi get to her? He thought out loud before he slammed his hand over his mouth. Midnight sat next to the girl in the bed. Suddenly, Todoroki walked up to Hoshi, now out of her ball and observing her arm before Todoroki gently held her hand, causing her to jump, her eyes widening as he inspected her arm. It's entirely possible. The severity of the burns matched Dabi's, he pointed out, looking up to the girl for the first time, only to back up quickly with a startled and worried expression. Deku looked at his friend before looking back at the girl to see her frightened eyes glowing with a bright, blinding white-like color. They all backed up, and suddenly Midnight pushed past them and used her quirk to make her fall asleep. Her eyes fluttered closed as the small glow that cracked through her eyelids dimmed until there was nothing left. Just as Deku was about to speak, both Ida and Uraraka yelled, "What was that?" Midnight put a finger over her lips to signal them to be quiet. Both Ida and Uraraka covered their mouths as he slowly made his way to Hoshi. How did she get this badly hurt? Was it Dabi? He asked in a worried tone as he tried to ignore the growing heat in his cheeks. Why am I feeling this way? If you're worried that I could have been a villain, relax. It's just a down effect of her quirk, Midnight answered, cutting off his rambling thoughts. What's her quirk? What's such a painful drawback? Shouldn't that make her quirk powerful? Asked sweet questions, making Midnight hesitate before clearing her throat and standing, making me jump back as she looks at the rest of us with a stern look. You all should go back to lunch. Otherwise, you won't get a chance to eat, she says. Before anyone could say anything, Recovery Girl was pushing everyone out of the door. No, he couldn't leave yet. He still had so many questions. But in the end, we all walked to the cafeteria, getting our food and sitting down at a table in silence. We were all confused and slightly worried. The entire day went by, and Deku couldn't get the girl laying in the bed off of his head. He couldn't understand it. Why? He didn't even know her name, and yet he felt just as bashful around her than anyone he'd ever met. He would have to ask All Might about this one. And that's the end of chapter 1. I hope you like it. This is a story made by me and one of my good friends on my Discord. If you're watching, you know who you are. And hopefully, the making of Chapter 2 won't take as long as it took for this one. But let's just say this is going to be a series that me and my friends will gladly enjoy making. Well, I know I will. But anyways, my little starlights, that's going to be all for today. So make sure you get some good sleep and wash your hands. Bye-bye!